Hello, everybody. We've got a very nice interview today featuring special guest Dr. Benjamin Portheault, who works as a performance coach. We've actually interviewed Benji a couple times before for Dojo Talks. You can find those episodes on YouTube and all the podcast platforms. And in the past, we talked about training and performance things and all kinds of stuff. But this time, we're going to be discussing Benji's experience at the recent Chess Olympiad, where he served as the performance coach for the English chess team. So first of all, Benji, welcome to the show. Good to have you back.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be there.
Yeah. Actually, first question I had for you is just how did you get this role to be the coach of the English team?
Yeah. So I've worked with obviously with individual chess players in the past, and I've always wanted to work with a team because I think this aspect of team dynamics and helping out is super interesting.
Yeah.
So I really looked for a country and a team to help for the Olympiad, and I'm very thankful to Malcolm Payne, who's the director of international chess for the English Federation, and also the captain of the Open team, who gave me the role. And I was already working with one of the players of the women's team. So my main mandate was to be performance coach for the women's team, which performance coach means a lot of things. It's like about the mental prep and like every aspects related to sports science. And while I was on site, I also did a little bit of work for the Open team, and I had the great pleasure and honor to be the captain, so to speak, for the last 4 rounds. So that's like an overview of my role.
Yeah, a lot to get into there. I definitely would love to talk about like the mental prep, especially for the tournaments. Um, I think we should maybe recap folks a bit on how the teams did overall at the Olympiad. How did they end up finishing?
So it was a mixed bag, but there's a lot of positives to take. In the Open team, David Howell got a gold medal for his
Right.
individual performance. So I'm going to take absolutely zero credit for that. David's just a fantastic player.
Yeah.
And the team was mathematically in contention for a medal going into the last round, which
Hmm.
was fantastic. And a very young, ambitious Moldovan team unfortunately won in the last round and finished fifth, and England finished 14th. So that's for the Open team. And the women team, the results were like a little bit more up and down. They finished below seeding at 32. I think it's great opportunity. A lot of players were new to the team, and Zoe Varney was in contention for a norm, which eventually she didn't get. But very proud of the performance of the women's team, especially they played India 1, and it was a very, very narrow match. Unfortunately, some of the matches like Germany were like absolutely one-sided, but that's chess.
Yeah. I mean, Olympiad sounds super exciting. But yeah, let's back it up a bit. Maybe we could start. Like when did the preparation begin for the Olympiad?
Yeah, so um, the I got in touch with the players individually once the team were set, and they were set, if I recall correctly, about 2 months before the Olympiad. So it's not that much time. So I contacted all the player from the women's team and worked with them individually, and then we also set up group sessions where I helped the team define, 4 core values, and the values that, it was not my values. It's like I just helped them, get their personal values, and from the personal values we found like team values, and these team values were ambition, teamwork, passion, and hard work. And I mean, it's all nice and well to have like, these abstract values, it's very like, it's a little bit like this motivational poster, but like, what does it mean in real life, right? So the goal is like, okay, we've got this set of values that are important for everyone, and what does it mean on a day-to-day basis? Because if you just have the values, it's quite abstract. But if you translate the values into actions and behaviors, then it becomes very concrete,
Yeah.
right? And this helps a lot, because, for example, it helps you to always have your actions aligned with what the team would want you to do at any moment, even if you're on your own. So I think these are very very important.
So what would be like an individual training session like when you worked with like a single player?
Okay, so um, this is quite it's quite individual, because of course it's like, for example, on the lifestyle, right? There's like not much time to be done, so it's like I can't just come in and like, revolutionize somebody's life. It's like, what is the very smallest thing that I can help that will have the biggest impact for the preparation, right? In this, when it's like time limited like this, I have to be very careful and find like, maybe just turn a dial very slightly to try to have the biggest impact. So that's like obviously quite personal to the
Because
players. And then
you're usually working with players on like physical stuff, like their fitness and um
yeah, um,
so that's what you mean, like 2 months
so
before the Olympiad, you can't just like completely change everything.
yeah, exactly. It's like, it's like looking at um, how they're going to structure their chess training in the the last 40 days, and it's like, okay, how can I help you make sure that you will be in the best possible environment for your training to be effective. So that's the idea. And then I worked with them. I really find that not many players have, for example, a pre-performance routine.
Mhm.
How do you get yourself into the optimal zone, so to speak, to play your chess game. And so I help them set this up. So that was like, the crash course of what I could do in like 30-40 days with the players.
Right. Yeah, I'd love to ask just about more specifics if you don't mind. Like how do you get into the zone? Like what would be an example of like a good like a pre-game routine? Because actually that's something that
Okay.
people ask all the time. For me,
Yeah, I feel
I'll
like I
just
should I should I should come back and we could talk about this for an hour, but just like very briefly.
yeah, for sure.
Um, I think it's of course like highly individual, but I mean, I could answer any coaching question by saying it's individual. But let's say I really like to have something non-verbal, right? And for example, uh, get back into a space where what does it feel to play your best chess? So in the session when we set this in place, we, for example, go back to previous games. You go back to like your best game, or sorry, I will rephrase, not your best game, but the game in which you played your best chess.
Hmm.
Okay. And then you extract a few moments from this, right? So we do visualization exercises, recall exercises of what it felt like at that time. And then these are like, you extract one or two moments, and then the idea is like, imagine you were to put them in a bottle and you were to drink from the bottle just before your chess game. And it's like, okay, this is what it feels like in terms of uh, to which zone, which state I have to be to play my base game. So that's I don't know if that all made sense to you, but that's overall the framework.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's like you're just trying to get into the right mood before the game, just like the psychological mindset. I always think about just like chess stuff, like warming up, like some tactics or getting to the board a little bit early just to calculate a bit and get into the game. Um, but yeah, it does feel like it could be very useful to get the will to compete kind of ready because chess is so hard and there are moments where it's like it's tough, you kind of want to give up, and so having like a little bit of extra mental energy feels like that would be very helpful, try to be more resourceful during the game and to outlast the opponent. I mean, we talked a lot about last time just in terms of energy and how important it is to have energy like deep into the game to avoid fatigue and making mistakes. So yeah, actually, it sounds like you did a lot of kind of mental work with the team overall, like more than
Yeah,
actual like physical exercise.
that's correct.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Nice.
and on before on the at the on site, I would also we would do meditation in the morning, right? So I think that was a very important, and I think they really all saw great benefits from it. So um, what I'd like to do is to do, for example, we'd sit for 10 minutes, and for 5 minutes we do so-called focus meditation, right?
Mhm.
So where we, for example, focus on the breath very specifically, so that will like calm you down, right? It will really just bring you into a state of focus. And then for 5 minutes, we do so-called insight meditation. And in the insight meditation, you don't focus necessarily on your breath, but you just stay in present awareness and you just observe the content of whatever arises. And just doing this really brings you um, um, this skill to be like recognizing your thoughts, because that's a big part of like um, uh, managing emotions at the board and in between rounds, of course, but especially at the board, because like if you get upset, right, you can't take action or you can't recalibrate if you don't even recognize that you're upset, right? So um, doing this meditation really, it's like uh, reps for like this skill of uh, being recognizing your own mental space, mental emotions, and managing to let them go, to just be able to play the position in front of you. And this is like, for good things and bad things, right? Because if you're winning, you need to like stop saying like I'm winning and then like already start thinking about yourself at the hotel, but just play the position and finish it. Or if you've made a mistake and you have to fight, you can't say like you can't cry over spilled milk, and you need to just play the position you have and maybe save a draw. So I think this was like paid a lot of dividends.
Yeah. So did everyone participate in the meditation? You would do that every morning before the rounds?
Yeah, so of course, like it's almost everyone participate, because it's not like it's nothing of any of what I proposed was forced, but it was it was really really popular,
Cool.
and they would see me before they see the chess coach and captain of the women's team, Lauren de Costa.
Mm.
Shout out to Lauren if he's watching.
Yeah, and then who is the open coach? If you remember, I mean the captain.
So that was Malcolm Payne,
Gotcha.
and but obviously the dynamics a little bit different because of the ratings, right? So of course the players, Malcolm actually he knows quite a lot of theory, so the players would consult him, but obviously they're all like their peak ratings are like 2700 plus, so they do a lot more work on their own, whereas the women, right, they would get a little bit more value from direct chess coaching from Lauren. So, the dynamics like a little bit different there, and of course, slightly different for every team.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what would you do like during the rounds while they play?
Um, that's great. Like during the round, so I would typically, because there's 4 players and only 5 players, but only 4 of them play on any given day. There's always like 2 substitutes, right? So once I made sure like all the players got everything they need and they're gone on the bus, I would stay with the remaining player at the hotel, and whatever they want to do, I would help them out. So sometimes we'd go outside and visit something, so I'd make sure they're safe. And most of the time we stay at the hotel and, for example, do some sport, because Ravi Arya, who was like the 5th player on the team, was like a substitute in quite a few rounds, just by virtue of his rating in the team. But is like a fantastic mindset of substitute. He really wants to play and wanted to play, but understood that he was substitute for many days. So I just made sure he was like in perfect shape to play when he was called on.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you mentioned, so at some point you actually took over as captain for a couple rounds.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, my first question was that because why did that happen? Was because Malcolm was busy elsewhere, or?
Yeah, he was busy because he's also the FIDE delegate for England. So
Mm,
all the FIDE business was in Chennai. So and so that's actually quite far away from well, it's like about an hour away from where our hotels and everything. So while he was busy, I took over. And one thing you have to know is like in previous Olympiad, I think it changed like this year. Um, the players could ask the captain if they can take draws,
right.
right? And so that acts like there's actually a serious chess responsibility over the captain, because there's this anecdote somebody told me, like he offers a draw, and then like the captain of the other team was a very strong player, and he actually sat for like 15, he actually looked at the board for 15 minutes, calculating everything, and then said like, okay, you can take the draw. So it feels like you're playing against against the captain as well as the player. I mean, I have it's kind of like a mixed. Some people think that the captain should go back to what it was, and some people like the way it is now. I personally don't have any strong opinion either way. But given that the captain had no chess responsibility, I had no problem being there in the hall, because the idea is just to be there and make sure the players are comfortable and supported. So I would just like bring them coffee, bring them tea, make sure it's quiet, because there are days you're very close to the spectators. So I had to bring like more volunteers to make sure it's the spectators are managed properly, and just be there and be calm. And they really Malcolm did also a great job, but uh, I think it's underrated, because a lot of teams, like the captain just goes away or doesn't care, or they just spend their time chatting in the corridor. And then like even like a GM told me like, oh, I'm a GM and all I do is like bring the coffee. And I was thinking, well, looks like you can't even do this properly. um, so um, it's it was a great learning experience as well to be there and observe the players up close, and to see the real difference that it makes when you have like a team with some unity and cohesion versus like a team of individual. And of course understand the pressure that the the players are on. So yeah, being in the hall, I mean, I was probably by far the lowest rated in of all the captains of the Olympiad, but in fact, not. I would just, I mean, I'm not the one making the moves. There's no need for me to be, worried about anything. I don't have control. I just control, make sure my players are comfortable, and that was it.
So afterwards, would you have to console them? You know, if they lost a big game, and if so, like, what do you kind of say to a player?
Well, it's everybody reacts differently to losses. So this is where you need, like, the emotional intelligence to kind of read the room and see if, like, you need to stay quiet or say something, and just roll along with it. But of course, for example, the last round was a heartbreak. Of course, like, you can't deny this, but it's it is. Uh, all the players really were fantastic professionals on both teams. So in that case, there's no regret that they did everything they could. But there's no template of, like, how to handle somebody that just had a big loss. It's you've got to read the room.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, I've always just going back a bit, I've always thought it was weird that the captain is the one that's deciding the draws at the Olympiad. Because I just thought, like, you know, like a player goes up to them and they're like, you know, they're much better, and they're asking if they can take a draw or something, and the captain's like, yeah, no way. Like, you know, it's just weird that someone else is making the decision for them. But it's kind of cool because it's like it makes it more of a team sport because you have a
Yeah.
coach that's actually making important decisions.
Yeah, I mean, and also it puts the burden back on the player to be more aware of their teammates' situation,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that's an argument as well for, like, having the coach taking over that mental load. Um, but usually, even if they will always keep, players always keep an eye on, like, what's happening. Maybe not like on a move to move, but they have an idea of, like, okay, this looks bad, so I have to play more risky, or the other way around.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that players, they just start doing that naturally. Like they don't have to. Um, yeah, they don't have to ask the captain to
Yeah.
to know that. Um, yeah, and then so yeah, actually during a round, sorry, I had a question about the coffee as well. Like, how does that work? Do players tell you what they want beforehand, or do they come up to you and they're like, hey, can you get me a coffee? Or
Yeah, I think they're not allowed to directly speak to the captain.
right.
So it's like, they tell me beforehand, and then it's about, just knowing which snacks they like as well. Um,
What kind of
Definitely
snacks did
for
they
next
have
time.
at the venue? I'm very curious.
Um, so they had um, they had little pieces of chocolates. They had Kit Kats. Um, they I'm not quite sure, because the players quite like the bananas, and
Mm.
these I would bring from the hotel. So, kind of like gathering enough bananas the day before was, like, one of my tasks. But I was, like, thinking a lot about, like, players' nutrition, because I realized that this captain's role is almost like, a good nutritionist would be ideal for this, because um, I mean, I went for, like, the idea that just try to push for, like, lower glycemic index at first. So people should start with a banana, for example,
Hmm.
and then, switching to, like, the chocolate or the Kit Kat, later in the game. Um, But there's actually we can link in the show note. There's an hilarious clip of Malcolm, and Malcolm brings coffee to like some of the players, and the opposing captain instantly like respond by bringing Kit Kats to his own player. So there's like this little back and forth between the two captain, and I think it's a chess-based India clip. It was hilarious.
That's so funny. So actually, yeah, that was kind of my next question. So did you hang out with any people there? I know you mentioned you spent some time with like Ramesh, like the coach of the
Yeah.
Indian team. How was that?
Yeah. So I mean, I it was fantastic for me because I don't know that many. I know a few people in the chess world, but very little compared to actually a player that would have played for many years. And um, in a way, all the people that were friendly to me, they weren't friendly for like ulterior motive or because I'm famous or because anything. It's just like I just got to like meet like and interact with great people. Of course, I knew Ramesh from before because I've done work for his academy, um, and I was like extremely fortunate that the England team was in the same hotel as many of the other top team, like the US team was there, um, Italy, all the Indian teams, almost all the Indian teams. Um, uh, and so on and so forth. There were lots of team in our hotel. Um, So yeah, as the captain of the famous India too, um, Ramesh was there, and we'd see each other in the gym early morning at 7:30. He likes to go for a workout, and I'd go there, and we'd work out together and talk about all sorts of chess related because. Um, what I like is like, I come in the chess world and I try to say, okay, what do traditional sports do that we could apply to the chess world, or what's lacking,
Mm-hmm.
or like, try to see things from a different angle. Let's not do the things the way they've always been done, but maybe we can, gently improve. And Ramesh is also a very, interesting deep thinker, and so it's like always a great pleasure to talk with him. And then there were people like John Donaldson, which was the captain of the US team, was like an absolutely delightful, fantastic a man. And I really enjoyed, discussing with John and sharing like all views and impressions. So talking to people like this was fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. John's great. Very nice and friendly guy to talk to. He has tons and tons of good stories. He
Yeah, and
almost. Sorry, go ahead.
he was on like Ben's podcast to give
Hmm.
his recollection, his own view of the Olympiad. By the way,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I still need to listen to that. Yeah, yeah. He's always really really great, and he's been the captain of the U.S. team for many years. So I think they all really like him. It was funny. He almost set the house on fire in St. Louis. We were staying at the same house together next to the club, and we woke up to the smoke alarm. But that's anyway, a story for a different time. Um, so did your teams ever play against each other, like the English against the India 2 team?
no, no. England didn't play, neither USA nor India too.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Well, yeah, that would have been interesting then, uh, in the morning there. Um, yeah, that's great. I mean, it sounds like yeah, just it's a fantastic experience to be able to be there. And would you walk around and like watch the games at all? I mean,
yeah,
like
I
from maybe
mean,
like other boards and stuff like that, or would you just focus
I
on?
mean, I think everyone there's a lot of walking around because already you go get the coffees, the drink, the water, and
Mm,
so on and so forth. Um, and I would look around, but of course I was like um, I was very careful, to be absolutely not disrupting. It's same like sometimes people would come and like they'd come really close to the players, and so I would like gently steer them away because I think sometimes people are a little bit like not careful. I would yeah, but it's like uh, it's not like, oh, what's the position or what's happening here. It's just like see the body language, see the emotions.
Mm.
I think that these were like the interesting things for me.
Mm-hmm. Were there spectators allowed in the room?
Yeah, so it's okay. It's a little tricky to describe, but basically, people could. It was like fenced off, but they could come in the middle, and then it's like you walk in and then you walk back through the same way you came in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they were really, really close, right? And there was so many people, but sometimes like when it was peak time, it was like a little bit busy.
Right.
Excuse me. And there's always little sometimes people talking even quietly. They don't realize like how disruptive it can be for the players. So there'd be like lots of volunteers, and some days I'd make sure like bring a couple more volunteers close to where my players were to shush the spectators. But I mean, it was. I think it's like I don't know if there's anywhere on earth where there's like such love for chess and such an amount of spectators and so many people asking for selfies and everything with the players. So I mean, it's just yeah, it. I think it was fantastic, and the players enjoyed this like chess fever and the love of the spectators who could like go into the playing hall as well.
Yeah. It's always fun when you can feel like people are just like fans of the game and they show up to watch. Like, I mean, it means a lot. Like, you know, especially these days, to like leave your house for something. It means like it's must be like kind of important or interesting to you. Um, so actually, I wanted to also ask, did you handle nutrition for the players, like overall, or is that kind of just up to them?
So I mean, it's up to them. I mean, because they're all like um, very experienced professionals. They've all like played so much tournaments. It's like a little like touches and dials when they would ask me for something. We actually arrived like maybe 2 days before the first round, which was great to like
Mhm.
get over the jet lag. And when we first arrived, like the hotel food was like full Indian, like breakfast, lunch, dinner. And actually when closer to the tournament, they switched to like some European component and like some more general food. And I thought it was they were doing the Indian food like a 9 out of 10 or maybe 10 out of 10, and the European food they were doing it like 7 out of 10. I wish that stayed like full Indian, but nothing to complain. It was fantastic. There's a chess-based India video that shows like the buffet in the hotel of the Indian and US team. There's one thing though that this I'd researched before, and is like how to make sure that the player didn't get any gastric discomfort from like Indian food.
Mhm.
And I'd found that there is one uh, probiotic yeast that's quite uh, uh, that that's quite useful as a prevention.
Mm.
There's actually like some solid scientific evidence behind it. So I'd like bought this several um, and I would give it to the players, definitely like the first week, make sure like they take that supplement. And it went well. We didn't have any significant sickness, which actually was a factor in like other teams' performance. So that was I was quite happy about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's really important. So yeah, That's interesting. I'll have to ask you about that because I'd be curious to know as well. Um, so going back a little bit to the pre-tournament coaching, you mentioned you would do like individual work with players and also like some team sessions. You mentioned the team values you guys kind of set out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there any other kind of like exercises that you did either with the players or with the teams to kind of help them, I guess, get ready?
No, that was pretty much. I mean, you know, it's all also a question of resources, which we could go to for like 2 weeks beforehand and like be in like a remote location, like people do for the soccer World Cup. But that's not the reality of like the chess world. And we had to do a lot, um, remotely. So these were mostly the these value exercises is like the main thing that I did with them. It comes from like esports. Actually, shout out to like Coach Donny from like Next Level Esports, because it's very relevant, because in esports it's it's quite often that you have to assemble a team of like 4 or 5 people, and they will play like individually but as a group result. Like they have to be really skilled on an individual basis but still have to have strong communication, and they might not have played with each other beforehand. And you have to like, okay, how do I create like team bonding out of this? That's completely 100% like the framing in a lot of esports team. So I thought getting ideas and help from like that part of the coaching world was very relevant and beneficial.
And so, yeah, that was going to be my next. Like, do you think that was helpful for the English teams in general to kind of get more of like that? Because in chess, you don't really think about it that much as obviously being like a team sport, or that like the team mind, would have to be uh, strong. But just to add on, you also have these amazing results from like the Armenian team, for example. You know, with Levon, they were already underdogs. Now, like without Levon, they're still they're still winning, which is just like amazing. And
Yeah,
then the Uzbekistan team also felt like they had really really good synergy, as did the Indian team. It felt like all the successful teams just like you can tell they like analyze games together
yeah.
and really like spend a lot of time with each other. So yeah, I'm guessing you think that's important.
I think it's quite important. Yeah, definitely. Like the teams that felt like more like collection of individuals didn't perform as well. Um, and yeah, all the teams you mentioned, Uzbekistan, Armenia. There's also a shout out to Serbia, coached by my friend Mio, who's like also very tightly knit units. And it's when you look for each other, that's always a positive. So but yeah, it's as I said, it's not necessarily in like the interaction you have with each other, but it's like also how you behave on your own, to make sure you adhere to like the standards that the team has set. So that's a lot where a lot of the value lies.
Yeah. So do you think there's gonna be room for like more like performance coaching in the future?
Um, that's yeah, at the infamous Bermuda party, when I was like discussing with people and telling them I was doing performance coaching and mental coaching, people were like, "Oh my God, we need this for our team," and I must have heard like that sentence like 10 or 15 times. So I definitely think there's there's a room for more of this. Of course, for a lot of country, it's like a matter of resources to have like an extra person with them. But I think definitely, maybe the fact that I was there will make like some of the other captains think they can have somebody filling that role for their country in the future. And definitely like there's really demand from the players side. So that's I think this will go only in that direction going forward.
Cool. And what's next for you? Are you continuing to work with players, or do you have any more plans on the horizon?
So I still continue to work individually with the players. Of course, like there's not a lot of like big opens right now. I mean, for a lot of people, the next big tournaments like the Rapid and Blitz, which hasn't been, as to my knowledge, hasn't even been announced yet. When and where, it's usually around Christmas. So that's like actually a great moment to like do some like deep preparation and revamping like aspects around your training. So that's like an interesting stage for a few players.
Yeah. Well, I think that'll do it. Thanks so much for coming on. This was really interesting to hear about. And well, obviously, wish you the best of luck. Um, if people want to reach out to you, they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah.
Um,
At Benji Portheault, spelled with like lots of letters. Probably find it in the show notes, or in the podcast notes. Definitely, you find me on Twitter.
Very cool. Yeah, absolutely. We will link it, and yeah, people should go follow you. Well, thanks again for coming on. That'll do it for the stream. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you so much, Kostya.
Absolutely. Yeah. And see you all next time. Have a good one.